Hey there, everyone. Welcome to another Habs history video. So in this video, I'm going to tackle I guess you call it a myth, that the Montreal Canadiens' early success, so I'm talking about their success in the 60s and 70s, and I guess somewhat in the 50s, because I think this gets tied into that it was not because of any special rule or that they could get the French players. And I'm going to tell you all about it, what I know about it, and that's right here at Talking Habs, the home of Habs hockey, where everything is dedicated to the Habs and all things hockey. So if you're a Habs fan and you want to see more videos like this, please head down there and subscribe and ring that notifications bell, and that's going to get you your daily fix of Blue Blanc Rouge right here at Talking Habs. And while you're on the way down there, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment in the comment section for anything about the video, about what you thought about this rule, what you might have thought if you knew the actual truth as well. Anyways, anything in the comment section. So, yeah, so there's a big misconception that, and I think it's not from Habs fans. Obviously, it would be from Habs haters or Habs people who don't like the Canadiens, that a lot of Montreal's success, especially in the 60s and 70s, came from the fact that they were able to get the first pick at the French Canadian players before any other teams got that. And that was true only for 6 seasons. I'll explain when I get into the video. But that was true only for a short period of time, and Montreal only took advantage of it twice, and not for great results. So it was not really part of their success. So I'm going to explain how that happened. Now, in 1946, Frank Selke, of the Frank Selke Award, became the GM of the Montreal Canadiens. Now, the nickname, the Flying Frenchman, had been around for a long time. Imagine since the birth of the team. And Selke decided to play that up in his marketing schemes. So he had the Forum renovated, and that was to bring in more fans and more revenue. And he used this new revenue to start sponsoring minor and junior teams across North America in a very large way, with a focus mainly on Quebec. But he still was across North America. Which meant that most talented players from these sponsored teams would naturally be drawn towards wanting to play for Montreal. There was a point where they had 750 teams being sponsored across the continent and 10,000 players that they considered part of their farm system. Their stable of future prospects was larger than all 5 other teams combined. Most French Canadian players in the day dreamed of playing for the Flying Frenchman, and so that it helped that Selke played that up, that aspect of his team. He played that up. There were exceptions to the rule. Players that other teams got to first, like guys like Hall of Famer Marcel Pronovost, who was a Quebecer, and he was scouted by the Red Wings and signed by them, or Rod Gilbert and Jean Rattel, who same with the Rangers, or even Pitt Martin. His name was Hubert Pitt Martin, who, for me, I remember mostly from Chicago, but he was a Red Wings fan growing up, and he signed with them just because he wanted to be a Red Wing. And there's many other cases as well. So the rules gradually went from sponsorships and like scouting and then sponsoring to a drafting system that's still in place today. The entry draft began in 1963, and there were only 21 players, selected, because players still on the team sponsorship lists weren't eligible to be drafted. Montreal had built the best feeder system from teams situated across the continent, and this new draft system would hurt the Canadiens the most. So recognizing this, and in compensation to Montreal, the NHL granted them the choice of either drafting in turn with the other 5 teams, which means, drafting like they do today, all teams having their turn to draft, or they could select 2 French Canadian players of their choice before the other teams drafted. As much as that seems unfair, considering how important the draft is today, it was a different time back then. Plus, in the implementation of the draft as a new system, teams still had most, if not all, the top prospects tied up already through the sponsorships. So no other teams were really bothered by this new rule, and Montreal didn't use the option really until 1968, where they drafted Michel Place and Roger Belil. And in 1969, they used it again to draft Reggie Houle and Mark Tardif. Like now, none of these four were more than really serviceable NHLers. They weren't superstars. They weren't really stars. They were just decent NHLers. I don't know about Roger Belil, but the other three I do know. By the end of the 1969 season, after completely phasing out the sponsorship system, the league voted to eliminate the special rule. So it was only in place from 1963 to 1969. So that's 6 seasons, maybe 7. I'm not sure if how you can say 63 to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So yeah, okay. So 6 seasons, 7 seasons, however you want to count it. And that was it. It was not all through the 60s. It wasn't in the 50s, and it wasn't in the 70s even. So it was just for a part of the 60s, and that's it. And there's this misconception that that's how they built all their big teams, and it's just not. And you can just look back at the teams, and you can see they weren't all French players. Okay. By the end of the 69 season, I said they phased that out. They phased out the sponsorship. No, this is different. Sorry. By the end of the 69 season, after completely phasing out the sponsorship system, the league voted to eliminate the special rule. I might have said that already, but I'm old and I'm forgetful. And if I said it again, I apologize. I'm sorry, but I don't edit yet. If it hadn't changed, the Habs would have drafted Gilles Perreault in 1970. So can you imagine that? Like, wow. We'd have had Gilles Perreault and then Guy Lafleur and whatever, like that would have been awesome. So after that, Montreal was like everyone else and built their successful teams through the draft and by making smart, strategic trades for draft picks. Sam Pollock would become a master of trading veteran talent for future picks. And that's how we got the #1 pick in 1971 to get Guy Lafleur. He traded Ralph Backstrom to the LA Kings, who were just ahead of Oakland, but threatening to kind of fall behind Oakland. And Montreal held the Oakland Seals' first round pick. And they wanted to get either Guy Lafleur or Marcel Dion, and they didn't want that to be screwed up by the fact that LA would finish behind Oakland. So Pollock wanted to ensure that LA would stay ahead of the Seals, and Montreal could pick either Lafleur or Dion first overall. And I think at that point they probably had their sights set on Lafleur as the first pick. Now it turns out Montreal could have drafted both of those players. A lot of people don't know this, but it's in a book, and my friend Pat was telling me all about it. I am not able to go to the library to get the books to do that, so it's for a video later. But they could have. Then they decided to draft only Lafleur, and they had some kind of a deal that they could have done to get another pick that would have gotten them Dion, and they decided not to do that. And I don't know why yet, but when I get to doing that video, we're going to get to that. So the misconception that Montreal had an unfair advantage over the other teams because of this ruling that was only in place for 6 seasons, or 7, I'm not positive, and Montreal took advantage of it only twice to draft players that were not superstars and did not win them cups. Montreal was successful by being the best at whatever. Let me do that again. Montreal was successful by being the best and at working under whatever system was in place. Sorry, I edited that I didn't read it right. So by working whatever system was in place, Montreal never had a team of all French players. That's also a misconception. Frank Selke just marketed them that way to create a certain image that seemed to take hold and is still somewhat with us today. It was meant to attract local fans at the time to bring them into the newly renovated Forum and to bring in that new revenue. And it worked. And the fans have stayed ever since. So that's what happened. So that, there's a lot of talk. It doesn't happen often as much anymore, but there I hear it a lot that that we had that rule and that's why we have so many cups and it was unfair. And it wasn't. It wasn't. That wasn't a rule that was there. And when it was there, it wasn't there for long. And Montreal really never took advantage of it. And they got rid of it in time for Montreal not to be able to use that to get Gilles Perreault, and then the next year they would have been able to get Lafleur and Dion just like that. Boom. So it's a misconception. So I thought I'd clear that up. It's something I came across while I was going through my internet stuff. I saw a story about it and I said, hey, that's interesting. I wonder how many people that watch my videos would know this. And so I thought I'd do a video of that. So if you liked this video, give a thumbs up. I appreciate that. Head down there, subscribe, ring that notifications bell, and that's going to get you more videos like this from me at Talking Habs for your daily fix of Bleu Blanc Rouge. So I just want to thank everybody for watching the video. I want to remind everybody to stay safe, stay at home as much as you can. Go out only when you need to. Don't go to other people's homes. You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to congregate. Even if two people walk on the street, you need to stay apart or you get a fine. Wash your hands often. Stay safe. And peace out, everybody.